Welcome back to the Big 12 Women's Basketball Tip-Off here of the 2019-20 season. We're at Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City, the home of the Big 12 Championship for the next 5 years. Mark your calendar, March 12th through 15th, 2020. We'll have the Big 12 Championship right here in Kansas City. Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Van Lingen. Glad to be joining you. That's the end of the season when we'll have the championship. We are tipping it off here at Media Day today, and we've had roundtables to hear from the coaches and the players throughout the afternoon. When they're not here, they're being interviewed and talking about the season ahead. So thank you all for joining us right now. I'm joined by Sheri Coale, the head coach for the University of Oklahoma, Jim Littell, Oklahoma State's head coach, Raegan Pebley, TCU's head coach, along with Lucky Rudd at West Virginia. Lucky, are you with us? Are you with us? You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. And Joyner Holmes at the University of Texas. So thank you all for joining us. Glad you're here. And most fans that are watching the Big 12 now on ESPN Plus that are watching on our live stream right now maybe haven't seen you all since last March or April. And so we start off with, what have you been doing in the off season? What have you been doing on your summer vacation? You individually and your team as well.
There's a summer vacation.
Right.
I was not aware of that. Lots of recruiting, lots of practicing, lots of growth and opportunity for our young guys. You know, when players come in the summer now, our work begins immediately. Back in the day, it used to be strength coaches were working with players, and now we're working with players immediately. They're getting accustomed to class and campus life. So there's a lot of things going on while you're recruiting. I don't necessarily think there is such a thing as a summer vacation.
I know. I kind of said it like that, but off season, in your off season, that you aren't playing games, but you got a lot going on. So thank you for being here. We're so glad you all are here. Jim, how was your off season?
We spent a lot of time in the month of June trying to get 7 newcomers acclimated to our program, and as far as school and skill development, we spent a lot of work on that. We're maybe a little unique. We give our players the opportunity to go home in July. Very big on family, and we're gone a lot of the time in July recruiting anyway, so we give our kids the opportunity to go home and be with family and friends during the month of July. I was also fortunate enough, I snuck away a couple times. My son plays in the Dodger organization, minor league baseball, so I spent some time in Ogden, Utah watching my son play. So it was a great summer, and we're excited to get back.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's October already, end of October. Exhibition games are 7 to 10 days away, so we're looking forward to that. Raegan, how'd you spend your off season?
Well, again, very similar to what's already been said today, and that off-season, it doesn't really feel like there is an off-season anymore, and there's good things about that and challenges to that. So one of the things that we just have to continue to be mindful of as coaches is making sure that our players are recovering during their off-season. So, giving them that opportunity to mentally and physically, spiritually regroup, recharge, and then we as coaches have to do that, and family is a big way that gets done. We had some unique opportunities for some of our players, got a chance to do some study abroad, and so it's really piecing all those different schedules together to when we can get our workouts in. Felt like a really strong emphasis again this summer was just continuing to build individual skill. That's how we spend a lot of our off season in the summer, is not really putting the big picture together, but putting the little slices together and the pieces with individual skill. But yeah, as a mom, I spent a lot of my summer in the gym chasing my kids around at their tournaments as well, and had a great time being able to do that.
Fantastic. We're kind of stacked with the coaches on that end and the players here. We've had a little different mix each one of the panels that we've been on. So now we get to get the players' perspective on this panel. Lucky, what did you do in the off season?
Well, we have a new team basically this year. We have about 4 returners, so we've been trying to build a solid foundation for the new players that we have coming in. We did a lot of skill work before the players got here, so the returners did a lot of skill work over the summer, and then when the new players got here, we did a lot more team stuff. We've just been trying to make sure that everybody understands the style of play that West Virginia has, because it is a lot different than other schools. So I mean, that's what we've been focusing on, making sure everybody is on the same page and getting to know each other and just having a good year all around.
All right. And Joyner?
start off to say we did a lot of individual workouts this summer, a lot of just like posting guards and stuff because we had a lot of people with injuries right now and we stacked on 7 right now, so we're trying to make do what we can. But we focused on a lot of individual stuff as far as just post players just learning how to get a feel around the rim and get a feel for each other, and guards doing the same as well. So.
All right. So I'm going to go back down the other way and talk about just an outlook on your season. As fans are tuning in and they want to know what's Texas going to be like this year, what's West Virginia going to be like, what are your expectations, and whether it's style of play or veterans or rookies or whatever it is, describe what you're expecting from Texas this year.
We'll have a really good front court. We have a lot of guards this year. Not really too many big men this year. Just me and Charlie trying to work it out. So but we'll be really fast this year. I think we can do a lot of things in transition, and just work with what we got for right now. I'm trying to get people back healthy and get people back on the floor this year. So looking forward to it.
Great, we are as well. And Lucky, you said West Virginia's a little different style of play than a lot of other teams, and everybody getting used to it. How would you describe that?
Well, I mean, this year I think we're trying to focus more on becoming more physical like we used to be in the past, getting up the lanes like we used to do. Everybody knows that when you play West Virginia, you have to worry about denying and not being able to catch the ball like as easily as you want. So I think that's what we're trying to get back to. We're just trying to make sure that our new players understand that defense is the most important thing to Coach Carey and especially to our team, and that's the only way that we're going to be able to survive if we're good on defense.
You are no nonsense, right? You are channeling Coach Carey right here. I can feel it.
I'm with him every day, so.
We will talk more about that later. Coach Pebley, talk about your TCU outlook this year.
Yeah, well, I think, the one thing, whether a part of our program, not just a team, a season's team, should be that when you come and watch us play, home or on the road, non-conference or conference, we want you to see great teammates, people that really understand what that means in our locker room and on our floor and on our campus, to be great teammates, unselfish, celebrating each other, wearing that TCU Horned Frog jersey with a lot of pride. I think one of the things that with our team being so different from last year, where we were so post-dominant, it was pretty predictable where our scoring was going to come from. And I'm excited about this team and the investment that they've made and the skill development that's happened, and really sharing the load of that scoring and having it come from more of a versatile offensive attack. But defense, obviously, for all of us is a big part of how you win. And this is a league that if you don't bring a defensive effort, because there's such great offensive players in the Big 12, that you can find yourself down quick, and it'll be because of your defense. So really just instilling that discipline and that grit that you have to have.
Jim, the outlook for Oklahoma State?
Well, we're excited about it. Last year was a tough year for us. We lost 3 great players the year before and had difficulty replacing them. And we had been accustomed to being in the playoffs the previous 7 years, and it was a tough year for us. So we've talked to our players a lot about raising their expectations, not only as a team but individually, expecting more of yourself, holding yourself more accountable on a daily basis. And I think we've done a nice job of that. We've always been a program that's been based on defense and rebounding the basketball, and I think we've needed to get back to that and just the basics and limiting mistakes. And, victory favors the team with the fewest mistakes, and we've just really concentrated on playing more air-free.
Very good. And Sheri?
Yeah, well, our young guys are now just a little bit older. The old saying, the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores. There's a lot of truth to that. We had guys that were baptized by fire last year. They had to play whether they were ready to or not. Yeah. And we have no seniors this year, so we're still really, really young. But there's something that grows in you when you go through tough times together, and there's been some shared suffering that has seared our guys. And I love their buy-in. I love their belief. I love their approach to the work. What can you expect when you watch us play? Well, I hope we guard people a little bit, because we didn't last year, and we've got to get better at that. I hope we don't throw the other team the ball quite as much, and I think we'll cut that in half just because now we feel a little bit more certain about all the decisions that we make. When you develop a team, there's a process that you go through. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust the system. You have to trust your teammates. And that's a lot to ask for from a bunch of really young kids. And I'm proud of the way our guys continued to fight last year, the resilience that they showed, and the growth that they've showed through the summer and the lessons that they learned last year. So what can you expect? I think we'll still score a lot. We were the third leading scoring team in the conference last year, and I think we'll still be able to put the ball in the basket. But we're going to try really hard to guard you a little bit. I don't know if we can do what you're doing, Mike. I don't know. If you guys are going to get more physical, I don't know if I want any part of that. But we are definitely working on building that identity, and it finishes with rebounds, as we've talked about. Previous coaches have talked about. You got to be able to do those fundamental things well if you want to win and win big.
And part of that is the coaching staff. You've had some changes on your coaching staff. You have Coale Washington, who you actually coached with USA Basketball in Russia. You and Coale and I were all there in 2013 in Kazan, Russia at the World University Games. So you've got her on your staff. You've got Jackie Stiles, one of the most recognizable names in college women's basketball, on your staff. How are they impacting what you're doing?
It's been fantastic. I spent, what were we there, 17 days in Kazan, Russia, in a dorm room with Coale. I thought if we can do that, we can surely work together and live across town from one another. Coale is a terrific basketball coach, and I think that the best thing she brings to the table is she's one of the best listeners I've ever been around. And you think, what is that? That's really, really important for a coach, to listen to what players say and what players don't say, and to listen to moments and to listen to feedback and to really discern. She's fantastic at that. And then Jackie was my first home visit as a coach. I went to Claflin, Kansas, and begged Jackie Stiles to come to Oklahoma. And she brought it down to 3 schools, UConn, Southwest Missouri, and Oklahoma. And then she said no to me. And so I threw the guilt trip on her this time, and she said, I can't say no twice. So now she works for us. But Jackie's enthusiasm, her passion for the game, her indomitable will, it's just obvious every day. It's on display. And you can't help but get it on you. Young players cannot help but be bathed in that determination and that commitment to a work ethic, that discipline. It's just contagious, and it's fantastic. And then Colton does a superb job of resetting players. He has a great sense of confidence about him, and he can relay that to players and reset them really quickly because of his ability to communicate. So we're having a lot of fun as a staff. We're working hard recruiting and having a lot of fun coaching together. They're just egoless, wonderful human beings. In addition to being good basketball coaches, just wonderful human beings, and I'm very blessed to have them on my staff.
So important, so important. Thank you for sharing that. We could talk with each program about transfers. It's a part of what we experience, but Jim, you had the benefit of having Vivian Gray join your team last year and be a real impact. Now you have to deal with Braxton Miller leaving and then dealing with the pieces of that. As you look at your team this year, how is that all going to come together as you figure out how to be the best version of yourself this year?
Well, first of all, it's been a blessing to have the opportunity to coach Vivian Gray. She's one of those players that come along not very often in somebody's career, and not only ability-wise, but the way she approaches the game on a daily basis. It's a young lady that has a tremendous respect for the game, respect for her teammates. I've been in this now for 42 years, and I think we all remember a young lady named Tiffany Bias and Vivian Gray are the 2 best practice players that I've ever coached. And I think that's the biggest testament that you can give someone is they're excited about the game, they respect the game, and they want to play it the right way on a daily basis. So that's a great start for us. We needed to have a good recruiting class. We, as Sheri did, threw a lot of young players to the fire last year. There were a lot of times that we started 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores, so we went through some growing pains as well. But I think those players have learned, the Jamie Asbury, Cassidy DeLapp, Vivian Gray, those kids have learned what the Big 12 is about, and they're definitely better players this year. We were fortunate enough to add a young lady named Natasha Mack that was the National Junior College Player of the Year, and she has great passion for the game, enjoys playing, has a lot of fun, has been a great teammate, and she is going to help us in the category of scoring and rebounding in basketball.
You talked about Vivian Gray. She had the best answer of the day as she compared growing up on the farm and wrestling goats to help making her tough to be able to play in the Big 12 conference. So that was great for her to share that and the work ethic that she had on the farm. A terrific young lady in Vivian Gray. I have a couple of different questions to ask you, Raegan, but let's start with the way you mentioned Okonkwo and Moore were such a force for you in the past. The bigs, you graduate them, but you felt maybe you were predictable and you want to be less predictable. What does that look like this year for you?
Well, I think most people's game plan against us started and ended with how you're going to stop Jordan and Amy on the interior and Amy's versatility. And that did make us predictable. And you don't want to be too predictable. You want to be consistent, yes, but you don't want to be too predictable. And I think, again, we had two players that, Yummy Morris, who was a freshman for us, who played some support role minutes last year, and then a player who redshirted for us last year that got to compete against them every single day in practice. And just like Sheri said, when you go through tough times, when you go through adversity, and it's a consistent basis, and that's what that was for those two young players playing against those senior post players, that made them better. And we're excited about their growth and development and contribution inside. But I think also we have some perimeter that, I think are really opening up the paint for us, because they've really, I think, felt, just some more confidence out there in their ability to score and create. They distribute the ball really well to each other. There's a lot of unselfishness that's evident in our offense, and that definitely is a carryover from the defensive end of the floor. So I think there's a lot of teams in this league that we all talk about wanting to play up tempo. We all want our defense to create that offense, and rebounding is a huge part of that. But I think, again, chemistry is a big part of that. And we have a great senior class right now that has built a ton of chemistry with each other. And, one of the things that I just love about them right now is I think they're not just destined for greatness. I think they're really determined for it. And it's evident in how they talk about their team, how they pour into their team, how they lead young players, and how they're competing in practice.
Fantastic. Lucky, your dad, Delaney, played in the NBA and was your coach for a time, and you say that Coach Carey is actually a teddy bear compared to your dad.
Yeah.
How did your dad help prepare you to play in the Big 12 and play at a high level?
Well, I mean, just having your dad be your coach, period, is tough, especially going through, the transition of being a teenager and, becoming who you are. I would have to go to the gym, and he would say something to me, and then I would have to carry what he said back at home. So at least with Coach Carey, I only have to deal with him at the gym. After the gym, I'm done with Coach Carey, so I don't have to worry about it. But with my dad, it was just so much different, because whatever he said could transpire to wherever I was. And, it affected me, but then I realized in the long run it would help me out. And now that I'm with Coach Carey, don't get me wrong, he's tough, but, he's my coach. So it's the difference between coach and dad and just a coach.
Gotcha. Joyner, you have not had the opportunity to start the season and play a full season since your freshman year. Out the first semester of your sophomore year, you came back. Last year you had the injury and weren't able to get started. How important is it for you that you have the opportunity now to get started at the beginning of this year, especially since it's your senior year?
I think it's very important. I don't know. I was telling Coach the other day, I feel like I've been going since May, and I've never gone this long. I was doing 2-a-days since May all the way to July, and I'm I was so worn out at the end of July, and I'm well, it's kind of I'm understanding now, everybody's been here for the last 4 summers and I haven't. And so, it's really important. It's different. It's a different persona, a different air for my team, because I'm there this summer and I can actually help with the incoming freshmen that we have coming in, and then with Shug being out, I'm kind of the most vocal person on the floor besides LaShawn and Jada. And so I think it's really good having me there and just having my experience and being down the road of having adversity and hitting walls and stuff. And I'm just so glad and thankful to God himself to be healthy this semester. And I'm just looking forward to our season this year.
And so what are your expectations for yourself this year? What kind of senior season do you want to have?
I think I just want to have a memorable season. I know people say this is the best time of your life, and I think I'm finally starting to hit that wall. I know me and my roommate were talking the other day. I roommate with Jada, and we're just saying it went by so fast. And just yesterday we were freshmen, and now we're seniors, and it's just bittersweet, you know, like being at Texas and being able to meet the people that I've met. I mean, one of my teammates just won a WNBA championship, and I would never, you know, just meeting the people that I met at the University of Texas, and just being there, and my coaches and my teammates, I love them forever.
Yeah. Yeah, Ariel Atkins and the Washington Mystics won the WNBA title this year. That was fun to watch.
Yes, ma'am.
Lucky, your team in the off-season had the opportunity to go on one of those international trips that teams get to from time to time. You went to both Italy and Greece, and there's such a good time for bonding and learning and the culture aspect of it. What did you take away? You individually, I know you really appreciated that trip, but also what kind of experience did your team have?
I think my team overall enjoyed the trip. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's something that you may not ever get the opportunity to do again. It gave us the opportunity to get to know each other because, like I said, we have basically a whole new team this year. So it gave us the time to, like, really get to know the other person and understand how they are outside the basketball court. It was a fun time. We got to be with Coach Carey and eat a whole bunch of different food that you would never eat before. It was a lot of questionable things, but I mean, it was.
Anything? Can you share with us anything that you ate?
I mean, it was a lot of pasta and pizza, honestly, but it was a lot of raw dishes. Lots of different meats that you didn't really know about, but I mean, for majority of the trip, it was good. It was good.
Fantastic. Good. Raegan, when you walked up here, I mentioned that you actually were a part of a team that won the first Big 12 championship in this building when you played for the University of Colorado, and Colorado was still in the Big 12. As you come back in to this building, what are your memories? And then I'm going to add to that, I know you've been a proponent of the women's championship and men's championship being in the same city. How important do you think it's going to be to have those together here in Kansas City?
Yeah, as soon as I walked in, I wasn't anticipating it, didn't even really think about it a whole lot specifically, but as soon as I walked in, I remembered winning that championship here and the whole tournament and the experience of it. I cut my teeth in this league and the Big 8 and the Big 12 and had an opportunity. I mean, sometimes it's surreal to me to look down the sideline and I know I played against Sheri, and I know I played against Bill and some amazing coaches that, you know, now I'm colleagues with and continue to learn from and experience growing this league together and continuing to make sure that we're protecting its legacy. But yeah, I mean, this is a special place, and I'm excited for these players to experience it themselves, what it means to have this tournament here. And yeah, there's a lot of people that were, I think, advocates and trying to lead the charge and bringing the men's and women's basketball tournament together in the same city in Kansas City. And I just think it's great for our fans. It's great for the student athletes to be able to not have to choose where they're going to spend that weekend, whether they're going to be staying at home watching one team and the other, or going to a tournament. Now they can come and they can cheer their team on. And I think it's phenomenal, absolutely, for the players because Kansas City is part of the Big 12 roots. And I think they're now connected in a really special way to the players I played with, to the players who came in after us, to, you know, coaches who have won games in this gym over their careers as well. And but it's huge that we make sure that this is an environment that can continue to allow it to be sustainable. And I know you're working really hard, as well as a lot of people in this community, to make sure that this is continues to be a premier men's and women's basketball tournament in city, and I'm fully confident that it will be.
And Jim, as you walked in, you have memories of your first season as a head coach was the last year that the Big 12 was here, but prior to that, working with Coach Budke and the memories that you have here being back in Kansas City.
Just not only the basketball memories, but a personal touch with having the opportunity to coach with my best friend, and we had a great championship game in 2008 with Texas Texas A&M in here. Our kids played extremely well. We had a great tournament. What I remember that the fans of Kansas City are very passionate. They're very excited about basketball. As Raegan said, it's exciting for our fan base to not have to choose right now. They can go to both the men's and women's games. On behalf of Oklahoma State, I'd like to thank you for your passion. You've been a tireless worker for this event. I know you're very passionate about it, and thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, for sure. Switching gears, Sheri, you were able to get your team, 4 of the members of your team, on a 3-on-3 championship this summer. How did that come about? And describe the experience and the confidence, because they're actually going to play in next April's Nationals in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, so USA Basketball is supporting a 3-on-3 event for the upcoming Olympics, and they opened it up, and the NCAA provided a waiver for all collegiate athletes to be able to go and participate. And so it was the middle of the summer, and Anna was actually injured a little bit, and we were wanting to make sure that she was completely healthy. And ironically, Mandy pulled a quad, and we weren't sure if she was going to be entirely healthy. And so we just put the 4-person squad together: Taylor Robertson, Maddie Williams, Mandy Simpson, and who was my 4th? Who am I missing?
I'm sorry, they were talking in my ear, so I didn't hear.
Who am I missing? Taylor, Mandy, Gabby Gregory. I'm missing my freshman, Gabby Gregory. Old age will do for you. I was doing my 2002 memory of playing in this gym here when you were talking and asking these guys these questions. Great memories from Municipal from that. But anyway, those 4 kids got to go, and we put Gabby in the mix, thinking this is a freshman who's going to play a lot for us this year. So the more time she can spend on the floor with these other guys and get accustomed to playing with them, play against different competition, this would be a great acclimation process for her. Mandy is an astute communicator. She understands how to play. And the 3-on-3 FIBA game is really about figuring out the rules. I mean, it really is. How quickly can you get it back out to the 3-point line, and what do you do after free throws, and how do you screen? And it's an offensive player's game. And so that group of 4, obviously we have an alternate, did a terrific job. We play a lot of 3-on-3 in practice, so it's not anything out of the ordinary for them. They're accustomed to that. But they went to the first tournament and kind of went in like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Who are these people? They're pros and former pros. And then they won that one, and they walked into the next tournament a little differently, like they thought they were supposed to win it. And then they brought the medal home and acted a lot differently. And so for that, it was worth its weight in gold. And we're excited for them to go to Colorado Springs in the spring and see what happens.
That's fantastic. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. I know you also enjoyed the 2002 championship here on your way to the Final Four that year, and lots of good memories here as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That 2002 team, when you have a team go to the Final Four, there's a moment where you're just sure it's going to happen. And that moment for us was right here. And I remember the play. It was Stacey Dales, and she pulled up and shot a 3 in transition, just silky smooth, and shook her head running back down the floor. And I knew this is a team that's destined for something special. So there was a flood of memories when I walked in the doors here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for all of you joining us here today. On the screen, we're going to show the preseason picks for Big 12 play this year. It's what the coaches have voted on: Baylor repeating as champion, Texas, West Virginia, and so on. But there's a lot of season to be played, and we're going to get started here in about 7 to 10 days. It'll be really interesting to see how it all plays out. One of the toughest conferences in the country, and everybody battling for first place and an opportunity to come back here to Kansas City and win a championship. So thanks so much for joining us, all of you. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back here in March.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
We can score the ball. One thing that we're really going to be focusing on, and that you guys will see, is defensively, just blocking out on the defensive boards, and just really, you're going to feel our presence on defense this year, definitely.
I think college teams change, and when you lose the Big 12 Player of the Year, and you lose your starting point guard, and maybe a person in Meredith Burkhall that wore our uniform with more dignity and class than any player I've ever coached. That's a hard thing to do, but they taught, hopefully, our current players what it means. As coaches, we all talk about having programs, not just teams. And when you play in this league again, you understand. I will go back home and say transition defense must be important this year because everyone's going to run and score.
That's right.
So we better get better at transition defense, which we've struggled with. But our team is it's a group that understands that there's expectations in what we lost, and every player wants to be in a key role. Every player I've ever had. Well, now we have players who get to be in a key role that maybe now you got it. So let's see if you can do it and do it in this league. So like everyone, we're excited about the possibilities and just hope everyone stays healthy and everyone can have their best team. And when that happens, it's fun for the fans, it's fun for the players to play, and certainly will be something that our league will embrace, and we can showcase some really, really special, talented players.
So what does it mean to have the championship returning to Kansas City and joining the men's championship?
Yeah, you know, I grew up going to Big 8 championships in this city, and college basketball is such a fabric, a part of this Kansas City area, and the whole area just embraces. I grew up going to the old NAIA tournament that was so much fun because you got to get out of school to do it. Mm-hmm. Games were all day long, and you just loved it. So I'm excited that it's back in Kansas City. I've never coached in the Big 12 in Kansas City, so I'm excited personally, but I think the community is really going to embrace it. It's such the men's tournament, there is no better men's tournament in the country, and I just think that we'll be able to build off that with the women's tournament again, and I think it'll be really exciting to have it back. And I know I'm excited to do our part as a local school to keep this tournament here in Kansas City, but we've got to put butts in the seats, and that's what's going to do it. And we've got to get an exciting atmosphere in here in Municipal. And I think for the players, educating them on that there's been 9 Final Fours in here. You're going to play in a building that has had some of the best players in the history of basketball, both professionally and college. And you're going to walk in here, and this is, we put 6,000-7,000 in here for the championship. This will be a great venue. And by the way, the reason we have 3 coaches up here is because we need 3 to guard these 2. Okay, so might need more than 3, by the way, because I don't rotate as well as I used to defensively, okay? But anyways, it's exciting to have the tournament back here.
You meant
just can't wait to be here. Certainly this will be the basketball center of the world in March, and to be here with the men's tournament. Everyone knows it's the greatest men's basketball tournament in the country. I know our fans are excited, and I really, as Jeff said, the players are going to love playing here. We'll be the last Autonomy 5 women's tournament going on, so we'll even get more focus that time of year. So it's going to be a great experience, and we can't wait to get back down here. And we really want to thank the people of Kansas City for all your work, and look forward to being down here in March.
It's really as simple as that. It's such a competitive league, and if you don't lace them up every night that you walk into an arena in the Big 12, you're in trouble. And that's the conversations we're having a lot. With our particular team right now, we do have some players returning from injury. We'll look a little bit different when we start than I think we will in a couple of months because we've had some out. Our numbers are small. So I think the cohesiveness and the chemistry will look a lot different with this group this year. I mean, they kind of know their backs are to the wall, and I think when young people know that, they start to lean on each other a little bit more. The cohesiveness, the circle gets tighter, all of those things start to happen. So it's been a fun group. I think we'll look more cohesive. I think we'll look like a Texas team that can run a little bit. As a coach, I'm
and the other or going to a tournament. Now they can come and they can cheer their team on. And I think it's phenomenal, absolutely, for the players because Kansas City is part of the Big 12 roots. And I think they're now connected in a really special way to the players I played with, to the players who came in after us, to coaches who have won games in this gym over their careers as well. And but it's huge that we make sure that this is an environment that can continue to allow it to be sustainable. And I know you're working really hard, as well as a lot of people in this community, to make sure that this is continues to be a premier men's and women's basketball tournament in city, and I'm fully confident that it will be.